What we are witnessing right now feels heavy, almost surreal. It is the kind of situation that makes people pause mid-scroll and say, "Wait, what just happened?" One moment, everything appears steady and predictable. The next, the spotlight shifts so quickly it feels as if someone flipped a switch behind the scenes. There was no explosive argument online, no dramatic livestream, no tearful public breakdown. Instead, there was a single move that redirected the conversation almost overnight. Not long ago, Claressa Shields seemed to be standing at the peak of a powerful professional wave. She had a major fight generating headlines. She was doing interviews across multiple platforms. Sports outlets were covering her victories. Entertainment blogs were highlighting her crossover appeal. Social media was buzzing with clips, quotes, and celebratory posts. It looked like the kind of momentum that can elevate an athlete into an entirely new tier of mainstream recognition. When that kind of energy builds, it usually sustains itself for a while. Then something shifted. The focus gradually moved away from her athletic achievements and toward something far less predictable. Suddenly, people were talking about Remy Ma, not in a nostalgic sense, not as a throwback to an earlier era of hip-hop, but as someone stepping firmly back into the present with calculated intention. Many observers believe Remy did not simply reappear at random. They think she chose her moment carefully, not through loud confrontation or emotional reaction, but through quiet planning. Whether that perception is accurate or not, it has shaped how the public interprets everything that followed. To understand why this feels so intense, it helps to slow the timeline down. At first, the public narrative surrounding Claressa seemed straightforward. She was expanding her visibility beyond boxing. She appeared on panels, talk shows, and podcasts. She was strengthening her personal brand with confidence and clarity. Everything appeared structured and forward-moving. Meanwhile, some critics quietly suggested that Remy Ma's biggest moments were in the past. They framed her as part of a previous chapter in music culture rather than a dominant force in the present. That assumption lingered in certain corners of commentary. But assumptions can age badly. While Claressa was moving through interviews and public appearances, Remy was reportedly building something behind closed doors. She was not engaging in online back-and-forth debates. She was not responding to every whisper or indirect comment. Instead, according to supporters, she was focused on structural development, production planning, business partnerships, distribution logistics, and long-term strategy. Then came the announcement that she was launching her own network. That reveal made people pause. It did not arrive during a quiet media cycle. It did not wait for attention to cool elsewhere. It came directly in the middle of Claressa's promotional momentum. The overlap caught immediate attention. Online commentators began analyzing dates. They compared Claressa's interview schedule and social media posts with the timing of Remy's network announcement. Some felt the alignment looked too precise to be accidental. Of course, no one outside their inner circles can confirm intention. But in the digital age, perception often becomes reality. Once enough people believe timing was deliberate, the narrative begins to take on a life of its own. And once the internet starts digging, it rarely stops. Users began revisiting old interviews, photos, and archived posts. They compared outfits, hairstyles, captions, and even facial expressions. Screenshots were placed side by side. Threads were created cataloging similarities. Some observers insisted there was a consistent pattern. Others argued it was an exaggerated stretch. The truth likely depends on perspective. Fashion trends recycle constantly. Stylists work with multiple public figures. Cultural aesthetics move in waves. It is entirely possible for two individuals to reflect similar styles without direct imitation. Still, when images are presented next to each other in curated comparisons, similarities can appear dramatic. The conversation did not stop with clothing. Some online creators claimed that Claressa's tone and cadence in interviews resembled Remy's earlier speaking style. A few even used publicly available audio tools to compare voice clips, posting percentage overlaps as supposed evidence. It is important to remember that these were not peer-reviewed studies conducted by professionals. They were fan-generated analyses. Yet once those numbers circulated, they fueled further speculation. Was it admiration? Unconscious influence? Coincidence? or intentional imitation? There is no confirmed answer. The situation became even more emotionally charged when discussions turned toward relationships. For years, Remy Ma and Papoose were widely viewed as a symbol of loyalty. Their story carried cultural weight. They endured public hardships together. Many fans saw their marriage as proof that devotion could survive even within the pressures of the entertainment industry. When Claressa began appearing publicly connected to Papoose, comparisons intensified. Commenters highlighted similarities in how partnership was described. They pointed out echoes in language about strength and loyalty. They debated whether the presentation felt familiar. Again, these are interpretations, not proven facts. But relationships carry emotional symbolism. To some supporters, borrowing a fashion aesthetic feels minor. Mirroring the public image of a marriage feels personal. According to individuals close to Remy, she did not immediately address these comparisons online. She did not post cryptic messages or indirect responses. She remained silent. That silence itself became a talking point. Some interpreted it as maturity. Others framed it as strategy. They believed she was observing carefully, documenting quietly, and waiting for the right moment rather than reacting impulsively. Meanwhile, Claressa continued focusing on her career, training, competing, promoting her achievements, and celebrating victories. Then the network announcement reframed everything. Insiders described the platform as more than a casual talk show. It reportedly includes structured programming, guest bookings, advertising agreements, and professional production infrastructure. One rumored segment, referred to in online chatter as the Black Book, has sparked particular curiosity. Speculation suggests it may involve revealing documented stories about industry dealings. There is no public confirmation that Claressa's name appears in any content. However, even the possibility has amplified tension. Since the announcement, Claressa has not issued a direct response to the swirling allegations. Her silence has sparked additional theories. Some believe her team advised her not to amplify speculation. Others expect a statement at a strategic moment. A few more dramatic voices suggest chaos behind the scenes, but speculation does not equal evidence. What we know is this: the internet rarely waits for proof. Once a storyline gains traction, it spreads rapidly. There have also been unverified claims that Remy encountered resistance before launching her network. Alleged attempts to discourage investors or question the project's viability. Whether those claims are accurate remains unclear. Still, the narrative of overcoming obstacles quietly has strengthened her supporters' admiration. If documentation is presented during the premiere, contracts, timestamps, messages, it could shift public opinion significantly. If not, anticipation may outweigh impact. It is worth pausing to imagine both perspectives emotionally. Imagine believing someone is gradually adopting pieces of your public identity, your aesthetic, your tone, your relational image. Seeing those similarities amplified across social media could feel unsettling. Now imagine being accused of building your success from someone else's blueprint when you believe your growth has been organic and authentic. That would feel frustrating and unfair. Social media complicates everything. Nothing disappears. Every post is archived. Every interview can be replayed. Every fashion choice can be documented and compared. In earlier eras, public figures could evolve more quietly. They could experiment without thousands of side-by-side comparisons appearing instantly. Today, comparisons happen in real time. This dynamic also touches on a broader cultural context. Many Black women in entertainment have experienced their creativity being borrowed without acknowledgement. That history influences how supporters interpret current events. For some, Remy launching her own network represents empowerment and ownership. It symbolizes controlling the narrative rather than relying on traditional media structures. At the same time, it is essential not to elevate online theory into confirmed truth. Screenshots can look compelling while lacking context. Fan-made audio analysis is not definitive evidence. And then there is Papoose, positioned at the center of emotional crosscurrents. For more than a decade, he and Remy symbolized loyalty for many supporters. Any suggestion of replication around that image feels deeply personal to fans. Yet no outsider fully understands the private complexities of any relationship. Now Claressa faces difficult choices. If she responds before the premiere, critics may say she is reacting defensively. If she remains silent, others may claim she cannot defend herself. If she announces a major project, some may interpret it as distraction. There is no simple path forward. Remy appears composed. Her supporters describe her as thinking several steps ahead. Whether that perception reflects reality or narrative shaping is unclear. The premiere of her network has generated anticipation. Commentators are ready to analyze every detail. If concrete evidence is revealed, public perception could shift dramatically. If the content centers more on storytelling than documentation, its impact may be temporary. Ultimately, this situation extends beyond two individuals. It reflects how power operates in modern entertainment. Who controls the narrative? Who owns the platform? Who defines authenticity? In today's media landscape, attention is currency. Style can be echoed. Tone can be studied. Image can be replicated. But ownership, especially ownership of distribution, changes the balance entirely. When someone builds their own media platform, they gain control over framing and timing. Whether one sees Remy's move as strategic brilliance or fortunate coincidence, it has sparked an important conversation about influence and originality. Whether one believes Claressa consciously mirrored someone or simply evolved in public view, her next steps will shape perception. This moment feels dramatic because it touches pride, reputation, relationships, and legacy all at once. The premiere date is approaching. Some anticipate explosive revelations. Others suspect the build-up may exceed the content itself. Careers rarely collapse overnight, even when social media predicts disaster. But reputations can shift quickly in the court of public opinion. Perhaps the deeper lesson here is not about rivalry at all. Perhaps it is about building something that cannot be taken away. Perhaps it is about protecting identity before others attempt to define it. In a digital world, every action leaves a record. Screenshots resurface. Clips are replayed. Comparisons are preserved. In that environment, intention matters, but so does perception. So we wait. Will Claressa speak directly? Will Remy present undeniable documentation? Will audiences lose interest and move on to the next headline? No one can predict the outcome.